Newt Scamander, renowned magizoologist, author of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and proud Hufflepuff.
I'm a Hufflepuff. Actually, no, I'm a proud Hufflepuff.
But how did he get embroiled in the fight with Grindelwald? Why was he expelled from Hogwarts? And what happens to him after the Fantastic Beasts franchise concludes?
I got the answers to all those questions, plus a ton more. Like, did you know he's got 3 pet Neasels, Hoppy Million? You know what? That's not important. Let's get on with the rest of the video.
If you're a fan of J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, definitely make sure to subscribe to GameSpot Universe, where we've already got a breakdown of Fantastic Beasts' Big Bad, Gellert Grindelwald, among a load of other deep dives on all your favourite TV shows. Alright, let's get into the history of Newt Scamander. Newton Artemus Fido Scamander, no wonder he just goes by Newt, was born on the 24th of February 1897 in the gloriously vague location of somewhere in England. We don't know a huge deal about his family, but we do know that he has an older brother, Theseus, who we'll meet on screen for the first time in the Crimes of Grindelwald, and a mother, who is an enthusiastic breeder of fancy hippogriffs. As all magical pre-teens do, Newt headed to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in 1908, and was promptly sorted into Hufflepuff House. At Hogwarts, Newt became good friends with later Lestrange, and they bonded over their mutual love of magical creatures. But sadly, Newt's Hogwarts career was cut short as in 1913 he took the fall when one of Later's experiments with a Jarvie,
Basically a talking ferret according to Newt's book,
endangered another student and he was sentenced to be expelled. But here's where things get a little murky. It's unclear whether this expulsion was actually enforced at all. As one of Newt's teachers, the ever-reliable Albus Dumbledore, you might have heard of him, argued strongly against Newt's expulsion. J.K. Rowling has actually stated that Newt was expelled, twice in fact, but according to a prop document that was created for the original Fantastic Beasts film and reproduced for the tie-in book The Case of Beasts, his expulsion was not enforced.
Apparently Rowling was consulted during the making of all these props to make sure they're all consistent within the continuity of the Wizarding World, so this does lend this non-enforced theory a shred of credibility.
Either way, Newt's relationship with Later became strained, and she went on to become engaged to Newt's brother Theseus. Ouch. But hey, at least Newt got to keep his wand.
After his time at Hogwarts, but before he joined the Ministry of Magic, Newt served on the Eastern Front during the First World War, where he tried to help settle the expanding population of the Ukrainian iron-bellied dragon, although the program was quickly canned when the dragons tried to eat anyone that wasn't Newt.
Scamander then joined the Ministry of Magic for real in 1916, and his deep love and knowledge of magical creatures saw him quickly promoted up through the ranks.
And in 1918, Newt hit the big time when he was commissioned to write his magnum opus, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Over the next 8 years, Newt travelled around the world to over 100 countries to research and document the magical creatures that would make it into his book. He travelled to Greece to observe the mythical Chimera, to North America to track down the horned hodag, to the mountains of Europe to encounter the formidable Graphorn, to India to watch the majestic Okami, and to East Africa to catalogue the Nundu, which is basically a gigantic leopard. Though not recorded in his book, he also encountered an obscurial in the Sudan, basically a dark parasite that attaches itself to a witch or wizard, which he managed to preserve in his TARDIS-like expanded suitcase.
But his extensive research and travels came to an abrupt end in 1926 when Newt arrived in New York. Alright, if you haven't seen the first Fantastic Beasts film, you might want to skip this section because here be spoilers.
In New York, Newt crossed paths and suitcases with a muggle named Jacob Kowalski, which resulted in several of Newt's creatures unwittingly escaping into the Big Apple. Naturally, this caused utter pandemonium in a city that already had fractured relations between its magic and non-magic populations. While trying to contain the outbreak of magical creatures, including this cute little niffler, Newt met his future wife Porpentina Goldstein and her sister Queenie. He also encountered another obscurial, which was taking control of poor hapless Credence Barebone. As Newt wrangled up his escaped critters, he became embroiled with the Magical Congress of the United States of America, or mercifully MACUSA for short, which brought him into the warpath of one Percival Graves. Graves, the head of MACUSA's Department of Magical Law Enforcement, had for all appearances gone rogue in his investigations of Credence and the outbreak of Newt's creatures. And this was because, last warning for spoilers, he was actually Dark Wizard and all-round bad egg, Gellert Grindelwald. After an intense duel between MACUSA auras and the Dark Wizard himself, Newt succeeded in capturing Grindelwald and managed to prevent a wide-scale exposure of the wizarding world to boot.
We owe you a great debt, Mr. Scamander. Now, get that case out of New York.
Fast forward a year to 1927 and the first edition of Fantastic Beasts was published, becoming an instant bestseller.
But Newt's celebrations didn't last long, as he was dispatched to Paris by Dumbledore to help track down Grindelwald once again after he escaped from custody following the events in New York.
I cannot move against Grindelwald. It has to be you.
We'll have to wait and see what happened next, as that'll likely make up the plot of not only the Crimes of Grindelwald, but the next 3 planned sequels in the Fantastic Beasts franchise.
But what we do know is that Grindelwald wasn't apprehended until 1945, when he was defeated during a legendary duel with Albus Dumbledore. How Newt factors into all that is still to be revealed though.
Good evening, Newt.
Wait, no. Oh, come on.
Okay, so post-Grindelwald, Newt settled into a long and successful career as a highly respected magizoologist, as can be found in the foreword about him at the beginning of Fantastic Beasts.
In 1947, he established the Werewolf Register, which kept track of all known werewolves in Great Britain, although Fenrir Greyback managed to somehow steer clear of it in later times. In 1965, he created the law for the ban on experimental breeding, a law that was designed to regulate the growth of wizard-bred magical creatures like acromantula, basilisks, and blast-ended scroots.
Basically anything that Hagrid's involved in.
Newt was also heavily involved in the Dragon Research and Restraint Bureau, sending him all over the world on expeditions to categorise new breeds of dragon. And all of this sterling work for the cause of magical creatures saw Newt finally awarded with the Order of Merlin, 2nd class, in 1979. In his personal life, Newt married Tina Goldstein, and they had a child, who has yet to receive either a name or a personality from J.K. Rowling. Either way, this nameless child ended up giving the Scamanders a grandchild called Rolf, who actually got married to Luna Lovegood post-Deathly Hallows. By the start of the 90s, and around the same time a young Harry Potter was attending Hogwarts, Newt had retired and was happily living in Dorset, England, with his wife Tina and his 3 pet Kneazles, who I've already mentioned.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you gleaned some info from all of that. This copy of Fantastic Beasts is actually mine from when I was a kid, and miraculously hasn't fallen apart despite both me and my sister having read it at least 20 times. Anyway, let me know if you're excited for the new Fantastic Beasts in the comment section below, or you can come find me on Twitter at Adam Rees Mace. I'll see you next time.